Welcome back to Learn SKN, and today we're going to complete the Economics 2022 paper 1. The last video we looked at number 1 to 30, and so today we're going to look at number 31 to number 60. So we're going to complete this multiple choice paper today. So before we do, just some housekeeping. Make sure you check out the rest playlist with the lecture notes and those kind of things. And make sure you get ready for your exam. Alright, so let's just jump into number 31. Which of the following set of characteristics describes developing countries? And so we have some options to choose from. A, high GDP per capita, low population growth, high unemployment. B, high GDP per capita, high population growth, high unemployment. C, low GDP per capita, low population growth, low unemployment. And D, low GDP per capita, high population growth, and high unemployment. So the best one is D right there. That's the best option, because for sure most developing countries do not really have high GDP per capita, or else they would not be classified as developing if their GDP per capita was that high. So once that is in the option, that can work. Also, the level of employment, there's something we are considered to have a high level of unemployment, meaning that a good amount of our population isn't employed. But the best answer here is D, which most of the things line up. Number 32. The ability to turn an asset into cash without loss or delay is known as, that would be liquidity, right? Liquidity. Now, portability and divisibility and durability, you can see that those are simply characteristics of money. So they just try to put those words to throw you off. But when you're talking about converting assets into cash, we're talking about liquidity of that asset. Some assets take a long time to turn into cash. For example, maybe you might have some stocks or a piece of land or a house. You have to put it on the market. Then you have to wait until whatever legal documents are done before it can turn into cash, right? Some assets are locked up, but liquidity is how fast they can turn into cash, and of course cash is the most liquid asset out there. 33. The central bank has requested an increase in the reserve requirement of commercial banks. What would be the effect on the operations of the commercial bank? So remember, the commercial bank, the central bank is the bank of the commercial bank, and so the central bank controls the commercial banks. So commercial banks will be things like your Republic banks, your Scotia banks, your RBTT, etc. So what's the answer for this one? So the best answer would be A, their liquid assets will be reduced. Why did I choose A? Now, the reserve requirement is how much monies the central bank requires a commercial bank to hold back. You have to hold back a certain amount of money. You cannot loan that out. You just hold that back just in case. So the higher the amount they have to hold back, then that would reduce the amount they have to lend out. That would reduce the amount they have access to lend to persons who are seeking a loan. So if the requirement ratio or the requirement reserve rate was low, then that means they would have access to more money to lend out, and so their liquid assets will be reduced if the reserve requirement is high or it is increased. So that's the answer for that one, A. Number 34. The main objective of a credit union is to B, encourage thrift among its members. So what they're saying here is that the main reason you have a credit union or credit unions exist is to help the members to save, help them to be more financially prudent, help them to be more financially disciplined, help them to grow their wealth, grow their assets. That's one of the main objectives of the credit union. It's not out there to gouge out your eyes or to turn a profit from its membership. Or well, historically that hasn't been the case. They're normally there to encourage members to save, to increase their wealth, things like that, not to be a spendthrift. Number 35. The term money supply refers to, the answer is A, total stock of money in an economy at any moment. And if you look at the rest options, you see that they're kind of not really linking. Because B, total assets base of the institutions in the financial sector? No, but the money supply includes every aspect of the economy. Yours, mine, the banks, all those things that is in circulation. The amount of money traded in the foreign exchange market, total amount of gold and silver and other precious metals in reserve. So you know that's a choice option right there, D. You don't have to watch that twice. So the best answer is the stock of money in an economy at any moment. Number 36. The central bank can reduce the level of the money supply by, so remember some of the central banks out there, they are mandated with the monetary policy of certain countries. For example, in the OECS, most monetary policy issues are dealt with from the ECCB, the central bank. And so what happens if they're trying to reduce the money supply? What if they're trying to take some money out of the economy? Maybe there's inflation and they're trying to control the inflation. So they would reduce the amount of money that persons have access to so that they don't have to spend and keep driving up inflation. So what they have here, selling treasury bills, that's one option. 2, offering certificates of deposit. Or 3, increasing the reserve requirement. And so the best answer here is D, which is 1, 2, and 3. Because when they do any of the above, whether it is selling treasury bills, offering certificates of deposit, or increasing the reserve requirement, they are reducing the money supply. For example, if I'm selling treasury bills, then that means I am selling them to persons in the public. What do they give me in return for the treasury bills? Money. So that would take money out of their hand to buy the bills from me, which would in turn take money out of circulation. That money now gone into the bill. That is not as liquid until it is mature. So that would reduce the money supply in the economy. I explained the reserve requirement just now. So if I increase the reserve requirement, then that means the bank cannot lend as much money as they once did. And so that would reduce the amount of money out there floating around in money supply. Right? So that's the answer for that one. Number 37. In seeking to stabilize the economy of a Caribbean territory, the role of the government should be to, and we have answer C, review the policies on taxation, borrowing, and expenditure. So right there, that is in a nutshell what the fiscal policy is. Right? So if you're seeking to stabilize the economy, we're looking at fiscal policy. And what makes a fiscal policy? That would be taxation, borrowing, and government spending. So that's a smart way of asking us about fiscal policy. So that's why C is the answer. 38. Country S has obtained an inflow of $300 million in foreign direct investment, FDI. In which section of the balance of payments of the country S would this be recorded? And so at a glance you can see the obvious answer, which would be capital, because capital normally is in the form of money, some capital. So the answer is D, the capital account. You know it cannot be A because money isn't deemed visible trade. Right? Visible trade would be the goods that you can tangibly see, touch. Invisible trade would be more of the services, the financial services, education services, etc. And of course, the balance of trade is a broad record. It encapsulates more than just one thing, right? So the capital account would be the answer for 38. 39. The term recession refers to the period of, and by now we've all lived it during COVID, etc., the downturn in the economy, when there is B, temporary economic decline, right? So things going a little downwards in the economy, persons losing their jobs, people not making as much money, the demand is reduced in the economy, so things are just not going as smooth and as nice as they should be, right? So it's a dip in the economy, a temporary economic decline. Now if that continues, you might reach into a depression. Number 40, which of the following is an example of frictional unemployment? Frictional, right? Normally you have friction when there are two opposing things, rubbing against each other. So in this case, the answer is D. Maria lost her job 2 months ago and is currently registered with the National Unemployment Bureau. So what it's saying is that Maria is between jobs. She's trying to find a new job. She's actively trying to find a new job. That's why they say she's currently registered. Because if she wasn't actively trying to find a job, she would have been out of the workforce and they wouldn't have counted that as unemployed. right? So she's actively trading, so she's between jobs. Thus you have the friction because that's between jobs. That level of unemployment when you're one job to a next. So that's where the answer is D. Number 41 refers to the following table, which shows the rate of inflation and average percentage increase in the wages over a 4-year period. And we have seen this question before on a number of past papers. And so the answer for this one is, in which year was the increase in real wages the greatest? And the answer is 2014. Why is it 2014? Because the rate of inflation is 5%. The wage increase was 20%. So, of the 20, inflation would have eaten away 5% of that, giving us 15. The real increase would have been 15%. For 2015, you can see the maths. 10 from 20, 10. So the real increase would have been 10. In 2016, inflation outpaced the real wage. So 2016 and 17, inflation outpaced it. So therefore, there's no greatest increase of anything right there. There's a reduction in fact. All right, 42 refers to the following information for country M. So you see the whole, that's the formula for the national income. So you see the whole thing right there, GDP, gross domestic product. So you have consumer, so that's C, consumer consumption. You have G, government spending. You have I, which is gross investment. X minus M, which is exports minus imports, those two. You have incomes coming into the country, incomes going out of the country. Okay, good. So the gross domestic product for country M is what? So the best answer here is D, 1230, right? 1230, I think. So that's what it is in thousands. So we have 1,230. So that's just hypothetical, of course. So how we came to this? Now, for this one, you simply need to ignore the incomes that is going out of the country. That only comes into play when you just ignore the last two. Basically, incomes coming into the country and going out, you ignore that because that goes into play when you're calculating our GNP, right? If it's GDP, it's everything within the borders. So we'll add the 800, which is the C. So that's 800 C plus I plus G. So that's 800 plus 300 plus the 100 for I plus you have to minus the 80 from the 50, that gives us 30. And so that would be 1,230 for that one. And like I've said before, those last two parts of the table, they would be coming to play when you're calculating GNP, which is gross national product. 43 refers to the following economic measures. 1, reducing bank rates. 2, increasing interest rates. Or 3, decreasing money supply. So we're looking at some monetary policy here now. Which of the measures above can be used to reduce inflation? Which one can be used to reduce inflation? And so we have, the best answer here is C, which is 2 and 3. Because if you're reducing the bank rates, as I've explained before, if you reduce the bank rates, that would give the banks access to more capital that they can make more loans from. And if you make more loans, you put in more money in the economy. So you're increasing the money supply. And that can lead to inflation. When more persons have more money to buy more things, demand goes up. And so that leads to inflation. Imagine everybody going to the bank for a loan because money is cheap now to buy all kind of things. That would drive up the prices and that would lead to demand pull. Inflation would occur if you have more money in the markets. Okay, number 44. 44 refers to this diagram right here. The diagram above illustrates the circular flow of income, right? It might look all fancy here, but in the book we know it looks, right? That's the circular flow of income. So from the household to the firms and the whole circle that goes on right there, right? So income that you earn, you spend it, that become income for the companies, that will become income for government in form of taxes and stuff like that, and then the cycle continues. So that's the circular flow of income diagram. Number 45. in country B, the balance of payments is reflecting a deficit. This could be remedied by, so how do we fix a balance of payments deficit? 1, decreasing imports and increasing exports. 2, increasing imports and decreasing exports. Or 3, increasing the expatriate quota for local employees. Okay, so we know that if we have a deficit, that means that imports, right, or more capital is leaving the country than is entering. So more money is leaving than is entering. You're paying out more than you're collecting. That's a problem. So the best answer is A, which is 1 only, which matches decreasing imports and increasing exports. So your aim here is to decrease the amount of money you spend on bringing in stuff and try to increase the money you make from exporting things. So that's why the answer is 45. For 45 is 1A. Okay, 46 refers to this table right here. Again, a very familiar one that we've seen before, so you can refer to those past papers to get a better understanding of that one. So item 46 refers to the following information on the production of corn and soybean in 2 countries, Smallville and Bigville. So Smallville, somebody save me, that was a nice series on WB. Smallville, quantity of corn that can be produced, so we have 40. For beans, we have 10. For Bigville, 20 versus 50. So clearly you can see we have an absolute advantage. So you can see Smallville has an absolute advantage in the production of corn, and Bigville has an absolute advantage in the production of beans. Absolute advantage meaning that they outright can produce more than someone else. So off the bat we can see which statements are true and which ones are false. We know A and also, let's see, A and C are false, right? Because they are reversed. Bigville has an absolute advantage in beans, and Smallville has an absolute advantage in corn. So the answer has to be B or D. Who has the comparative advantage? And so the answer is D. Smallville has the comparative advantage in producing corn. Why are we saying that? Because they have to give up less beans just to produce 1 corn. How do we know that? If we divide 10 by 40, we will get 0.25. So it's only 0.25 beans Smallville has to give up to produce 1 corn. Whereas to produce 1 corn, Bigville, they have to give up 50 divided by 20. They have to give up 2.5 beans just to get 1 corn. Right? So they're giving up more to produce the corn. And that's why the answer is D. 47, which of the following is referred to as the banker's bank? Again, we mentioned that up top. That's B, the central bank. That's the banker's bank. 48, an example of a transfer is recorded in the balance of payments is. So when you talk about transfer, we're talking about a payment that doesn't have a production match to it. You don't have to do anything to get that payment. So in the form of a gift or something like that, right? So like, your social security and those things, you don't have to do anything to get that. So the best answer is B, an unemployment benefit received by citizens in their country from their government. So unemployment straight up tell you they're not working, but yet they're getting a payment. That is what a transfer is, a payment you receive without doing any kind of production or anything like that. So they're not working, but yet they get something. So that's an example of a transfer. So things like pension and unemployment benefits, those things, gifts from overseas countries, those are considered transfers. 49, the term of trade of country X is 150. This is considered to be C, favorable. Normally when it's over 100, it tends to be favorable. Number 50, which of the following market features is not a characteristic of the perfect competition? So which is not a characteristic of perfect competition? So we have A, freedom of entry and exit, B, many buyers and 1 seller, C, knowledge of the market conditions, and D, selling of homogeneous products. And if you studied to this point, you would obviously see 1 seller would mean a monopoly. Right? The textbook definition for a monopoly is 1 seller. So that cannot be a perfect competition. because perfect competition has many buyers, many sellers, right? They are also selling the same goods, so it's homogeneous, and you can enter and exit as you wish in that market system. So the answer here is B. So 51, countries can gain several advantages from trading with other countries. Which of the following phrases indicates such advantages? We have options here. More affordable items, 1. C. Specialization in production, 2. Or 3. Easy access to foreign goods. And the best answer here is D. All of the above. Once you're trading, you have access to different type of products. You have more affordable items, as we can testify to here in the Caribbean. You know, they are produced coming into the country at very low rates. You know, you have cheap clothing from Shein and those places. You know, fast fashion. You know, they're more affordable than if you bought them here. I mean, on island. So we can testify to that. Easy access to foreign goods, of course, again, with e-commerce. You can order something in China and get it by next week. Alright, 52. Which of the following account is not included in the balance of payments account? And the answer is asset account. Asset account. 53. Most Caribbean economies are characterized by B. High national debt. Right? I wish all of us had a budget surplus. Right? We'd have been in good standing if we had a budget surplus every year. That would be awesome. You know, I mean, we'd have been real developed by now. C. Low population growth. That is true. Most of us are characterized by low population. Sorry, not characterized by that. They say that developing countries like the Caribbean, they have an increased population growth. Even though I don't really see it, but textbooks say it's happening. So, okay. D. Strong economic growth. Again, if we had that, we would have been well off. But most of our Caribbean countries, we do not have such strong economic growth. Maybe a 2% here, 5% there, but you know, 1 point something percent here, negative maybe. 54. The restriction of international trade through tariffs, embargoes, quotas, and exchange control is referred to as, and of course, all of this formulates what we call protectionism. These things are done to protect the local economy from foreign goods, foreign interventions. 55. Which of the following institutions deals with balance of payment support? And the best answer is C, the International Monetary Fund. So normally when you have balance of payment deficits, and that if you have that continuously, you might go into debt, national debt, and so IMF tends to be the one who you go to try to correct that deficit imbalance of payments. 56. Import substitution is in a development strategy aimed at. So import substitution is a development strategy aimed at D, replacing imports with locally produced goods. And the word says it right there. Substitution. So you want to substitute some of the imports for local goods. So replacing imports with locally produced goods. That's something we are trying to do right now in the Caribbean, CARICOM, with the 20 by 20 agenda, where we're trying to substitute or replace certain imported goods with local ones to try and reduce our import bill. 57 refers to the following scenario. The WTO has agreed to the implementation of a tariff on specific goods coming into country A. The diagram below illustrates the impact of the tariff. So remember, a tariff is a tax on goods that are being imported, brought into the country. That's a tariff. And so what would happen if you add tariff to a good? That would increase the cost of the good, right? That would increase the price of the good. So what would happen here? So the best answer for this one is D, Q4 to Q1. So the quantity of imports before the tariff is presented, before the tariff. So that's Q4 minus Q1. So these two marks right here, the bottom one here, Q1, Q4 between those two, that would give you the imports before the tariff is implemented, because the tariff carries up the price, and so up here would be the difference, Q3, Q2, right? Quantity 3 quantity minus quantity 2. That would give you the real the thing right there. But you know, before the tariff, that's down here, price ain't increased yet, and so it will be between Q4 minus Q1. All right, 58. Which of the following is not a benefit of economic integration. And off the bat, you can see higher cost of living. Who is that an advantage? Who is that an advantage for? Not a soul, no one. And so the answer for 58 is A, higher cost of living. That is not a benefit any way you twist it, right? Increased productivity, of course. You have more persons are competing, and so people are going to be on top of the game, and so they can't afford to slack off. So, of course, productivity would kick up. C, improve competitiveness of products, like I said, because of the fact that all of the economies are coming together as one. You now have to improve your competitiveness both in services and products, because I can simply drop you and go to our next island's product. Mutual benefit among member countries, of course, we're trading and stuff like that, so there's mutual benefit to be had. 59, the penultimate question. Which of the following occurrence is not a benefit of trade liberalization to consumers? And again, it's obvious. B, an increase in the prices of goods and services. That cannot be an advantage any way you twist it. How would that be an advantage, an increase in prices of goods and services? Perhaps to the suppliers, but if no one is buying them, how is that an advantage, right? So the answer is B. And the last one for the May-June 2022 Econ, paper 1 for CSEC. One important objective of CARICOM is to, so a easy one for the last, encourage the economic development of its members. So that's A. Encourage the economic development of its members. All right, that's all, folks. So before you go, make sure you check out the rest videos on the channel. We have for POB, we have for agriculture science, we have for economics, we have 1 or 2 for other subjects in between there, some history, multiple choice here and there. So check out the playlist section. Subscribe, of course, to the channel, because more is coming. Like the channel. Share the content with your friends and family as exams are approaching. And of course, check out the description if you want to maybe, don't get some of the past papers that have been done, the paper ones. Get them blank, get them completed, whichever one, maybe a textbook or 2. Check the description for that. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next video.